I think we're ready to start. And everyone who needs something prepared has been given that information.
La.
Yeah, so we'll just go from there.
Good. And from the top.
Hey there, welcome to Motorcycles and Misfits, coming to you from the Recycle Garage in sunny Santa Cruz, California. And boy, was it. Emma, today was just another amazing day, wasn't it?
Wasn't it? Oh my God, you know, we had the regulars, then we had, you know, some of the regular visitors but strangers show up, and then complete strangers show up, and then more complete strangers show up, and we were jumping. I think I counted 30 bikes at one stage.
There was cake and cupcakes. You missed the cookies. They came out right after you got
Oh,
yeah.
What flavor were the cookies, darling?
Fresh out of the oven chocolate chip from my neighbors.
You know, chocolate chip are okay. However, if an oatmeal raisin cookie wore a hat, it would be a crown, darling. A crown.
But yeah, you know, this is a second week in a row that kind of we've been back open, no more restrictions other than the usual COVID safety protocols. Right. And people dropping by, people needing help, people getting gear. We gave away some gear to a new rider.
I want to start because I want people to make sure that they understand that, you know, there's all these people around, but we're not smooching on each other, or, you know, it's everyone's being very mature about it. Everyone's maintaining a safe distance. In my case, I'm in the next county. Everyone's wearing a mask. It's great.
Yeah, but people are dropping by. We had a real crazy, there was this one pack of riders that came. There was a 1989 Honda Shadow 700, I want to say. There was an RD
250.
Yeah, 250.
350.
There was a 350. There was a Dyna, like a vintage Dyna. There was a Sim Wolf 125.
Yep.
One dude was like on a Maxus scooter or something.
Yeah.
And a CB 550, and they're all traveling in a pack.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very,
and an SV 650.
A motley crew.
A very eclectic bunch.
And I'm like, this is our people.
Yeah.
It's like a little bit of everything. It was really nice. And we got to help some people out. Like I said, Isaac sent a new rider who's didn't know where he was coming. He's like, shows up in the parking lot and he's looking around and he goes, is this the Recycle Garage? And I'm like, yes, it is. How can I help you? I was told to come here. I just got my license. And I'm like, step right this way into the gear room. All of this is free. And you can see him going like,
what?
Free? Yep. Here's some brand new Revit Gore-Tex gloves, and here's he got some leather pants, and
here's the chocolate factory, Charlie.
And I'm like, yeah, people donated to us, and we just give it away.
That's rad.
And it just felt so nice again and he said, this is amazing. You know, gear's kind of expensive. I'm like, yeah,
truth.
It was really nice. And we got to help a lot of people, but then Emma.
Yes.
The Grim Reaper.
I am the Grim Reaper.
You are the Grim Reaper.
Oh, yeah. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, funk to funky. We know Major Tom's a junkie.
Yes, you had to deliver some bad news today.
It was. Death of Dr. Zimmerman. Dr. Brad Zimmerman died.
To not just one, but to two people.
Yes.
Who found out that oil was very important.
Well, you know, there's lessons to learn here. And both bikes that basically I acted as the executioner to were both single cylinder Suzuki, and everybody here knows how I feel about Suzukis. single-cylinder Suzukis, and both had suffered a similar fate due to oil consumption and oil being run out at high speed on the freeway.
Both Suzuki singles, two completely different bikes.
Right. But there is a commonality between the two. And, you know, we can... Do you want to go into it now?
Sure.
So, Suzuki singles are an interesting bunch. Usually, they have very, very tough bottom ends. And there's a reason for that.
Emma?
Yes.
Stop you there.
Oh, I know what you want.
Yes, you know what
I know what you want. It's my little chain.
Your chain.
Oh, I
My
thought it
little
was her
chain.
tough bottom end. Sorry.
Well, we... And we point at it and say, there's the chocolate factory, Charlie.
And I'm going to stop you there again.
Digress.
Because as John pointed out, I completely forgot introductions.
Oh, God, you
was
did.
wondering
I did.
about
I
that.
completely forgot. I'll be honest. I was so excited because there's so much to share and tell because, well, personally, I had a great weekend. And I think a bunch of people here all got
Liza,
to share.
Liza,
So
Liza,
I was just so excited.
Liza.
What?
Who's in the studio with you today?
Me. I'm Liza. Also joining us, it's Rick.
Hey, I'm Rick. I'm so glad we got to this part. It's been... Oh, I'm so excited. Who else we got here today?
Also joining us, it's Bagel.
I did all right today.
Yay! And in his car coming home from a long day of riding, it's Naked Jim.
I know I'm not supposed to say this word, but fuck California traffic.
Yeah, there was a
Anyway,
request. There was a
Run
request.
with your brung.
And from his
Are you
his home
protesting
in
by
the
driving naked?
yeah from his home in the woods, it's John. How you doing, John?
Hey, everybody, and a special shout out to all the people out there with stubby legs. Nobody knows the trouble we've seen.
Ruby!
I am going to tell the story. I am going to tell the story today.
Great. I know what story you're going to tell.
It's better than a stumpy leg. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. And of course, it's Miss Emma.
I've been drinking gin and I want to be
Oh.
your best friend.
Buckle up, y'all.
Give it the
There it
beans.
is.
Yes, give
So-
it beans, darling.
So yeah, so much to share. But Emma, so we haven't said what these two bikes were. Can you
Yes.
share that.
Yeah, so perpetrator number one was a Suzuki Boulevardier
Mhm.
S40?
40.
No,
Yeah.
S30.
Yeah, that's 40. 40.
S40. So, I mean, to you and me, that's a Savage 650.
It's Sauvage. darling.
Sauvage.
Sauvage.
It's a Sauvage 650. Dear Frank, who's a regular, and is Frank is full of enthusiasm for motorcycling, and he does a very, very good job. He's got an absolutely adorable girlfriend, and basically between him and her, they let the oil run low on this Savage 650. And what I suggested before we even start, now this is a bike that's known to us because this is the bike that Mikey 3 times originally built for Marie.
Yeah.
And so they sold it on to Frank, and I believe it's been quite a good bike.
So it's got all the leather work.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
bobbed out. It's very nice.
It's a gorgeous looking thing.
Yeah.
And so Suzuki provide us with a very, very large plug on the left-hand crankcase. And you take the plug out and there's a nut on the end of it, or in the Savage's case, a bolt. And you can turn the engine over.
Mhm.
And it's very, very handy. So we took the plug out and I put a socket on the end of the crank and it was completely seized. Just completely.
Yikes.
And I said, well, we're faced with a choice now. I mean, the engine is done.
Yeah.
The engine's done. Would you like to dismantle it just to find out what's happened, or just move yourself to the designated crying area for a little while and then go looking for used engines on eBay? And they chose the latter, sensibly. But I'm guessing that was quite a spectacular bottom end failure.
You have to explain the crying section.
Yes. Well, years and years ago, I worked for Honda, and you might be surprised that some of the staff at Honda actually have a sense of humor. And for a little while at Honda HQ, which was in Chiswick outside London in the technical department, they had a little area roped off in the corner, and it was the designated crying area for people whose bikes had suffered spectacular mechanical failure. However, it was limited no more than 15 minutes because it was always quite busy. You know, this was I should point out, this is when the V4 Interceptors first came out. So those things kept us on our toes. The early Interceptors were there was a lot of crying over those bikes, and you know, some quite serious failures as well.
So only 15 minutes worth.
Yeah, but you're only allowed 15 minutes worth because there's a line.
Get your crying out and get on with it.
Exactly. So no, it was toast. It was toast. And generally, the thing that will take out a Suzuki bottom end is junk from the top end. I was using the analogy that if we compare the oil pump on a bike to your heart, and the oil being pumped around, you know, as the blood in your veins, we choose an area of your body that's the most vascular, that's most greedy. And that is generally, it's your eyes. And if you think about it, those are quite far away from your heart. Now, if you think in terms of people who suffer from low blood pressure due to diabetes, they always have eye problems, and they always have problems with extremities. It's feet, it's eyes, it's that kind of thing. And so on a Suzuki, particularly a Suzuki single, we choose the area that, number one, needs the most amount of oil, which is the camshaft, because everything else in the engine is roller bearing. The camshaft runs directly in the cylinder head. However, in a very, very low stress engine like the Savage, I think probably what happened, and I don't know about without stripping the engine down, but I suspect the cam seized, and the cam seized, a piston hit the valve because the cam timing went crazy, and then everything dropped into the bottom. Because generally when you try and get a socket on the crank and it won't move an iota, there's a lot of junk in the crankcase, and I think that's what we had. So killed it dead.
Yeah.
So,
but the good news is they've been making those bikes, the Savage, the S40, the same engine for decades.
Right. And I mean, it's a very, very cynical way of looking at it. But it's a good entry level bike.
Mm-hmm.
So there's plenty of crashed ones out there.
Yeah. That's good news. However, there was another gentleman, Rick, who came by with cupcakes.
Well, yes. Again, Rick was accompanied by his delightful girlfriend, whose name escapes me, and I will never forgive myself for that. But she brought cupcakes and a dog,
Yeah.
who was one of the softest dogs I have ever encountered. I mean, just soft. And I think it was a Malamute. I want to say it was a Malamute.
Or a Husky.
Yeah, it was one of those things.
A big fluff.
But very, really nice, soft dog. Anyway, she brought cupcakes, which were blueberry and lemon.
They were glorious.
Yeah, it was. It threw a wrench into my diet, I can tell you. However,
So, and Rick is a listener from Colorado who recently moved out here to California, and he brought his bikes with him, and he had two bikes he brought in. One was the XR 450 plated.
yeah, a plated XR 450, and that was quite an easy fix. So we'll deal with that one first. is the spokes on the back wheel were loose, and he would tighten them up and they'd go loose again. Well, what people don't realize with most of the Honda competition bikes, and that's the XRs as opposed to the XLs, they have straight spokes. They're called nail spokes. So they don't turn through 90 degrees. They're literally straight with a nipple on the end of it. And there's a tiny little kink in them. And so what had happened was he was tightening up the nipple, thinking he was tightening up the spoke, and he was turning the whole spoke. And it was just getting caught enough that he thought it was tight.
Got it.
And then, of course, it'd go loose again. And they were all,
and it's funny, though, those remind me a lot of Bagel.
Oh,
what, that he's constantly tight?
No, the straight spoke with a little bit of kink.
Oh, there's nothing straight about Bagel.
I thought we were talking about the nipple on the end. Oh.
Oh my God.
And the twisted nipples. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So anyway, so the solution there was the nipples were well and truly seized onto the spokes because they're dissimilar metal. And so the solution was a little bit of penetrating oil on each nipple,
Just
repeat.
like Bagel.
Yes, just like Bagel. Repeat over 2 or 3 days, and then grab the spoke with a vice grip so it can't spin, and then just tighten the nipples up, and then just get a nice ding.
Yes.
So that's an easy fix. Unfortunately, the second bike, I wasn't content with ringing the bell of death for one Suzuki today.
I would like to say, though, I did ring the bell of death, and I did one of our own pranks we like to play. I slid the Bluetooth speaker onto his bike without him seeing, and I played the death bells.
Oh, God.
Oh, you're harsh. The DJ of death, Liza.
Exactly. Oh, yeah, poor Rick. So I should point out, and I mean, it's really a testament to DRZ 400s, which is what this one was, of how tough the engines are. So it was making an ungodly racket. It sounded like, I think the analogy I used at the time, it sounded like 2 skeletons getting it on in a tin of biscuits. Clank, 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 clank. But it was running. Not particularly well, but it was running. So I said, well, we need to get in and have a look at this. So the lid comes off, and I initially looked at the cams. And I thought it sounded a little bit like a flat cam. And the cams look good. So I said, look, we need to pull the cams out. We need to pull the head off. We need to keep digging till we find the noise. So the cam carriers came off, cams came out, and lo and behold, the intake cam had seized and chewed up the cam bearing. So basically the cam was bouncing up and down in the cylinder head. Well, there's a lot of the noise, and it's no surprise that the intake cam is the furthermost point in that engine from the oil pump. Quelle surprise, mon ami.
starvation.
However, so he said, well, can I put a cam in it? I said, no, your cylinder head's toast. And
keep going. He was kind of scared.
Yeah.
He was definitely beyond the point of comfortable dismantling. And I was like, keep going.
Keep
He's
going.
just got like parts everywhere. And he's like, I have no idea how to put this back together.
No,
Don't worry,
and I'm
it's
like,
not going to go back together.
you gotta, Rick, you gotta keep going. You've got to keep going. I'm going down the road for a cup of coffee. Just keep going. And you could see the panic as I walked away, but I came back. So the thing is, whenever you're dealing with a big ticket item like a cylinder head, it's very, very sensible to continue dismantling. Why? Because you want to make sure that the rest of the engine is in good condition. If you get cylinder head's a $10 item, put it on. If it shuts it up, that's great. But even a used cylinder head for a DRZ is like $400. And then you've got your gasket set on top and blah, 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 and the cams. So you're going to spend $500 at least. So you want to keep digging to make sure. So the head came off and the piston looked okay. At least the piston crown did. Cylinder came off, and that's where things kind of went south quite quickly.
Yeah.
So, cut a long story short, half of the piston skirt at the back was gone.
Oh.
All the junk had gone into the bottom end and destroyed the big end bearing.
Yep.
Now, there was no up and down movement. And I mean, so at this stage, it would have been quiet. All the noise was from the cam and just from a little bit of piston slap from the skirt missing. However, it was a grenade. It was a grenade waiting to go off. So, crank, main bearings, because they were full of aluminum cornflakes as well, piston, cylinder, because the cylinder on a DRZ 400 is Nickersill. And there was a big chunk missing out of it. So when Nickersill's chunked, you're done.
Yep.
Throw away the cylinder head and camshaft. And I mean, you're talking just thousands. And it simply wasn't worth it. And he was on the brink of parting the bike out anyway. And getting rid of the bike. So I think we just pushed him over the edge.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he made a very long journey from Lodi. And basically, he went back with 2 broken bikes, one irredeemably broken, and the second one that will be fixed after 2 or 3 days of judicious work with a penetrating oil.
There you go. Yeah, it was good, but without you there to help them, it's definitely a daunting task to dig that deep into something. You remember back in the day, Emma, it would be like you'd pull out your manual.
Right.
Like, I think we all have manuals. I like the greasier it is, the better. I feel like hard.
Yeah, it's a used manual.
And then it's interesting over the years, like just in the time we've had the recycle garage, like I would insist people would bring their manuals, and then you get some of these young millennials and they'd pull out their smartphone and get like the PDF and are trying to look at stuff on the phone. And I'm like, no, you need to bring the manual, but they didn't want to buy the manual. So they just print out all the pages. I remember one time Eason came to the garage with it bungee strapped and like pages flying. And I'm just like, buy
like
the
the
manual for
spiral-bound
the love
one.
of God.
So, you know,
Right?
and I must admit, I'm very much the old schooler, and I'm the first to admit it. You cannot beat a manual. Holding a manual in your hands with greasy fingers, manual in one hand and engine part in the other.
I have to say, though, I am a bit of a convert because I think the newer way of doing things, now it's turned into like YouTube videos, right? Where I'm searching through and I'm watching YouTube videos because it's actually showing you every step. And I really like it. And actually, you can go a step further than that. And you have things like fixmyhog.com. That's right. Fixmyhog.com. They have an amazing offer. You can sign up for Fix My Hog, their premium membership with our exclusive Motorcycles and Misfits deal, and get a full year of premium membership for only $3.
Wow.
Cha-ching!
That's crazy.
$3. So yeah, that's 96% off their normal price. So you visit go.fixmyhog.com/misfits and you'll have a discount already applied for you there. You can join a community of passionate riders who are committed to mastering their wrenching skills. Premium membership will get you access to hundreds of full-length instructional videos led by master Harley-Davidson technicians. Their videos are focused on helping you develop new wrenching techniques and getting you inspired to complete new projects. So go to fixmyhog.com, and how much is it?
$3.
$3.
So,
No,
you know,
and so really, to me, that is like the next evolution. I love a manual, but you know, you have to kind of go through all the YouTube videos and find somebody who's done a good job, or hasn't skipped something or has good lighting. But now I really like this next step where you have people doing professional videos, And I really do think that that is the next evolution of home mechanics.
Well, it gives you something that a manual can't, and that you actually see stuff coming apart in real time. I mean, you've come to the part of the manual that says, "Oh, take your exhaust off, take your carburetors off, drop the engine plates out, and then pull the engine out to the left."
Reassemble in reverse order.
Right.
Yeah.
And it takes you 30 seconds to read it and 3 hours in real time. So with the advent of YouTube, you can actually see how these things come apart in real time.
Mm-hmm.
Something as simple as saying, pull the carburetors off your bike. If you're a novice mechanic and you're still trying to pull the carburetors off your bike an hour later, you think, am I doing something wrong? And the truth is you might not, because you won't have access to the flat rate times that saying, pulling the carburetors off your CBX or your VT 500 is a 2-hour job.
Yeah.
So there's that. I mean, the thing that I find most surprising, Liza, is we have anybody who listens to the Misfit who rides a Harley Davidson after your beastliness. I mean, we brought on Rick especially to counter this. But I mean, frankly, I hope you're going to consider. I hope in 2021 you are going to consider changing your ways to Harley riders.
Let me tell you something.
Yes, you tell me.
That pack of Misfit bikes that was here earlier, right?
Yes.
And there was an old. It looked like, I don't know. Were they making the? Did I say F? Was it FXR? Like an 88 or something? It looked like an 80s bike, right?
Yeah.
And he was kind of showing me stuff he's done on it. And what I liked about it is there was like patina and kind of rust with then pinstriping over it, like embracing it, right?
Yeah.
But he showed me and I got he put on Brembo brakes and he's done some upgrades to it. And I said, that is it right there.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I love. Because one of the things that drives me nuts about a lot of big twin riders is oh man, my bike's so fast I can haul ass. I'm like,
I'll go, no
but
stop.
it can't turn or stop.
Yeah. Totally.
And if you get someone who recognizes that and they actually make some enhancements to actually make it a more performance, I'm like, you've got it. That you understand the bike, you understand it, and I have all the respect for somebody, even though it's a crusty old Harley. I'm like, dude, you're cool.
Yeah, with more
That's
brakes
cool.
than your average bear. Totally.
Exactly. So I know I piss some people off, but I think it's because I dig through to the ones who really know their shit and the ones who don't know their shit. That's all.
There's a difference.
There is a difference for me.
Yeah.
And you can definitely go to really levels of real cool with those bikes with simple shit,
Yeah.
But
It's easy to justify stuff to make it go fast. Like I work at a service counter in parts. So it's, we get people coming in, how do I make it sound cool, go fast? And then I tell them we're in California, you're not allowed to do anything cool. And then we kind of meet in the middle. And, it's interesting to see where people take these motorcycles too. You've got people that we had a customer with an FXR. I think it was it was a lowrider, maybe a 91 or something. The guy has 200,000 miles on it.
Wow.
All done with this man's own ass on it. Like super fucking cool. Bought it new when the place I worked at was a Harley dealer back in time. Rides the snot out of it and brings it in once a year. And he kind of expects about $1,000 of some stuff to deal with because he knows it's an old clapped out Evo that's been beat to snot. But dude, every time that thing comes in, it rides killer. Every single switch works perfect on it. The tank has a huge dent and he doesn't give a shit because the liner's not falling in. Who cares?
Yeah.
To him, it's like, no, I earned that. That's the time I smacked a deer in Montana.
Right.
It's all the cool stuff that you get to earn along the way. Your little scars.
Yeah.
I always enjoy seeing a Harley ridden by somebody who actually knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, the couple of times I've ridden with the SFMC, and a couple of the guys there are riding Dynas, and they really know how to hustle on them. It's quite a wonderful thing to see. You remember you were on the same run, Bagel.
Yeah.
on the mugs
I've
and
been on-
rockers. Yeah,
Been on mini rides with them. They are fantastic riders.
right. And you know, seeing a big guy on a big bike blocking and hustling,
Yeah.
and he's behind you. Now he's in front of you. Now he's alongside you. Now he's the other side.
Now wait,
And
we were
it's-
talking about big guys on those bikes. We were talking earlier about being a bearer of bad news. So Emma got to shut down some people.
Yes.
Can I share a couple I've had to shut down that kind of came to
Well,
mind?
that was something
Yes.
I wanted to ask. Yeah, delivering bad news. I'm sure you mechanics have had to deal with this a lot. And I would assume it's kind of like a doctor having to tell somebody that they've got cancer or something, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is,
Bedside manner.
Yeah,
And-
yeah.
before I hand it over to Rick, I think what's very, very important to realize is even if somebody's bike is not the greatest, it's very important to them. And it's our job as mechanics to treat it with the same respect that they would. You know, it's it might be a rusty, crusty Honda 90. It might be a clapped out old Dyna. You know, it might be a DRZ 400 that the engine's just grenaded on. But it's their bike and they love it. And so rather than, oh, ha ha, your engine's blown up, you know, treat them and the bike with some dignity.
So-
You never know the story.
Yeah. So, Rick, have you had any weird reactions? How have you? with this.
Every week of my life. You know, yeah, it's quite often that working at a service counter for a V-twin, like American V-twin shops, where I'm at right now, my background's a lot of Harley Davidson dealerships before that. So similar bikes, now just a few different ones. People come in all the time wanting to do the least amount of stuff. Deferred maintenance is people's favorite thing to do to their motorcycle, I've noticed. And, you know, they come in and they wonder, it's making a noise, it's making a ticking. Emma was just talking about that Suzuki, you know, and it's the same kind of thing. We have a noise, cool, let's shut it up. Well, what's behind the noise? What's under the noise? Was it worth us sealing up your rocker box leak if your transmission bearings are going out in the main? And, you know, you kind of have to get the whole story. So you totally nailed it with that. And I remember getting the whole story that pissed somebody off. And then I remember one that made up. So they're both the same deal. They're both Harleys. Oh, they're both Harleys. They're both Milwaukee 8s. Oh, sorry about that. I don't. So there's two different bikes I remember with similar problems, and they both took it really different ways, which is kind of interesting. So both of them were having oiling system problems, and one of them looked at it as, my bike's a giant piece of shit, now I need to get rid of it. And then the other person looked at it as, well, do we put back in the factory stuff, or do we seize this opportunity and maybe put in some better go fast? So we took this gal Rebecca's bike and we put some cams in it and we did some exhaust and we tuned it up. This is in Tennessee where we had a little more freedom for that. And you know, we made ice cream out of dog shit. It's my horrible analogy, but it works. You know, just because something bad happens to your bike doesn't mean you can't replace it with a better part or take advantage of it. You know, there's no reason to blow your whole motor apart. Your bike's got 1,000 miles on it. But if something were to happen and you got the heads off and the cylinders apart, maybe it's time to go, you know, bump up.
Hot cams. It's time for hot cams.
It's one of the rare opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I'm not scared. Get a mail to your friend out of state and then fence them. Get a remail to you. Not that I'd ever do that twice.
So
was
I
interesting
assume
to see.
you get blamed for the bad news.
I get blamed for the bad news, you know, and there's customers that jokingly walk in and go, oh, screw that guy. And they'll run to the other end of the store, you know, and it's, but at the end of the day, I have another problem where I work with my heart way more than my wallet. Emma ruined me from the get-go. It's about motorcycles. It's about people, you know, all the other shit works out and it's fine. Don't worry about it, you know? So when I get the person with the bike, we were talking about, maybe it's not special to you. You know what I mean? Maybe to somebody, it's, oh, it's a 94, 83 Hugger. It's a little Sportster. Nobody cares. Well, I had to pick up one of those recently from somebody that aged out of riding. And to look at this person's face while I took her motorcycle that she had ridden the absolute snot out of, outridden, everybody went off road with, like, coolest stories. I had to pick it up because now she's into a nice Honda Accord, and that's all that her family's gonna let her ride.
Aw.
So, dude, wild, right? I bring it back to the shop. It's black and it's got a pink pinstripe on the tank and a couple cool little like rose tchotchkes on it and stuff. We left them all on it. I mean, that's part of the story. I've worked at places that would immediately strip all that. So you'd have a boring bike on the lot,
Right.
and then they can dress it up, which I get that too. But this was so rad, it had a story. And then another
Yeah.
old timer came and bought it, and he just wanted to ride the
Wow.
snot out of it. And I was like, dude, perfect, right? So, you know, we back up. It's that was an opportunity. We probably could have made a lot of money. You know, we probably could have like dressed the bike up and put different bars on it, all this different shit. But that's not what it's about.
No,
You
it's
know, it was
not.
about getting someone on a bike, you know, and it making sense. And that bike, he saw what was special in it too. So that's what was kind of cool. It doesn't matter what the bike is. You know, I've seen like the coolest bagger loaded up with every doodad and radio and tchotchke and chicken light thing. Maybe it doesn't excite me too much. But the person that built it, dude, they're over the moon with that thing. They spent years going through the catalogs and picking up the stuff and, you know.
Well, and I had a similar experience this week. I actually sold 2 cars and a motorcycle and bought a car.
Really?
Heat
Yeah.
transfer.
It was a big week, man. So my beloved Jeep Cherokee that I've had for 17 years that I just recently was fixing up, cleaning up. Turns out I needed to sell it.
Why?
Thank God. Thank
Be-
God.
Stop it, Jim. That
That's my
thing,
only contribution to the entire podcast tonight. Thank God you told that thing.
that thing has hauled our dirt bikes so many times.
But why did you sell it?
Because I needed to get a car that my mother could drive sometimes, and she couldn't drive a stick shift. And we needed to sell my father's car, which was a Tesla. So I found a car lot that traded in the Tesla and got cash and a Honda Pilot back, which Jim, you can contribute now. As soon as I got it, I drove over to Jim's like, look what I got, the Honda Pilot. I didn't know it's a pretty cool car. It's huge. It's got lots of storage. It's going to be an awesome dirt bike hauler. And we're like riding around the neighborhood. I'm showing it to him. And the wheels on the bus go round and round, starts playing. And
That was pretty spooky.
we couldn't figure out how to make it stop.
That was
Turn it off.
I'm telling you, you better
Oh, enjoy your
first
pilot. It's
stage.
haunted.
And yes, Jim said it's
Somebody
haunted.
died in that car, dude.
And like I'd turn it off and turn it on and it would start playing the wheels on the bus go
Does it
round
have to
and
be that
round.
song? Woo.
And I'm like, maybe this is why it was so cheap.
Right.
I'm
But
telling
Jim-
you, Carfax doesn't tell you everything.
You'll be happy to know I finally figured out how to get that bloody CD out of the player.
Huh?
Threw it
The
away.
Honda Poltergeist?
But it did.
Is that
we
what
thought
it
it was
was?
haunted. We thought it was
Oh my
It
haunted.
was a CD.
It was a CD in a hidden CD slot.
Really?
had to
I'm just glad. I'm just glad I can actually roll down the window now without you having to turn your ignition on and off and the windshield wipers on.
You got to turn around 3 times and spit to make the windows work.
Get the hookah virus in that thing.
But so I got a new car and I had to sell the beloved Cherokee. But you know, and that was a car that I loved, that I'd been fixing up for myself. And it has a lot of memories. I think every Misfit's been in it at some point. It's even been a portable recording studio for us. I mean, it's done so many things. But I was fortunate to find a young man who wanted a Cherokee, an old 99 Cherokee. And I felt good that it went to, you know,
Perfect.
yeah, it was good. It went to a good home. I felt good. And then I sold a motorcycle today. What?
What
Would
did you
cut
sell?
loose?
The turbo.
Oh man.
Here's the deal. We had, you know, a lot of rain recently, and the garage it floods because water just comes in underneath the doors. And the whole area where I keep all like the vintage bikes, like the CX, where there's a carpet there, it flooded. And like, I feel so terrible because I don't have a big garage, you know, and I don't have a good garage that is dry enough to keep old bikes in. And that bike is of a certain value and can be better in another home. So I offered it up. I mentioned it on the podcast. with the caveat that whoever buys it gets a $1,000 credit of Emma to fix whatever they want.
Cool.
That's right.
So, so we had a listener, Eric, come by today, and we went through it, and he was stoked, and he gets to have Emma fix some of the cosmetics. And Emma, you had some very good advice. I was saying that this was a good candidate for restoration, but you had another direction.
Right. And I think that bike is close enough that it needs preservation rather than restoration.
Mm-hmm.
You know, bikes are only original once. And when you're presented with a bike that's in really, really bad condition, and it's a bike of value, and it's a bike that may be historically important, you know, restoration, the decision to restore it's very, very easy. But then you present it with something like the Honda. Now, the Honda, it's really on the up and up. I mean, every year that goes by, it's becoming more valuable. But it's not valuable in terms of, you know, Vincent or Ariel Square 4 value right now.
And to be able to store a bike for its value to go up, you have to be able to keep it preserved.
Right.
I don't have a garage that can do that.
Right. And so this CX, even though it's got flaws, it's all original. And I think the flaws are small enough. What I suggested to the new owner, I said, look, keep the original paint, do what's called a color correction on it, which basically means that the top layer of paint is going to get buffed down and it'll really bring the color back out. Do some localized touch up where there's a chip. The biggest problem with that bike, and it's kind of our fault, we bolted the fairing on, we just used whatever fasteners were around.
Mm-hmm.
And so we used a bright zinc fastener. Now, when that bike was new, all the fairing fasteners were black oxide. And it's a peculiar kind of, it's almost a green black. Honda loved that color.
Oh, I know that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so basically what he needs to do is spend a couple of $100 on the original fasteners, and it's really going to lift that bike. Do some polishing work on the natural aluminum parts, or as I say, aluminium. And the bike's going to look like $1 million with just minimum effort, and it's original. And that's the important thing. It's an unrestored bike. I've been going to the Quail now really since it started, and the legend of the motorcycle before that. And it started really with the cars, you know, at the Pebble Beach Concourse. And it's bleeding over to motorcycles now. The preservation class is the one to watch. These are the original vehicles, the unrestored vehicles, the ones that have a sympathetic hand laid on them. And I'm all over that. Now, I restore bikes, but if you take, say, my Trident, which is a resto mod, I started with nothing. And so that's how I justify doing the restoration on that. And the Water Buffalo, I started with nothing. But the CX, you're starting with really a slightly patinaed, all-original bike. So I think we should keep that and do a very, very sympathetic, not restoration, preservation on it. Make the most of what you've got there. And it'll look like an absolute $1 million.
I like that. I think I'm going to apply that same theory to myself.
Right.
Why lose weight? I'm just going to polish it up a little bit.
Buff it out.
Buff it out. Buff it out. So that was a big week, exciting time. Look who's joined us now. It's Mikey 3 time. Yo, Mikey, I muted you.
Why would you do such a thing?
Because you make a lot of racket.
Shame on you.
Dragging your heater over because it's,
how loud is that?
Because it's 57 degrees out and you got to drag your heater over.
Oh, you can hear it?
I could hear you.
Dude, my garage is like a fucking refrigerator. I put my sodas out here and I just leave them.
Jeez.
You know?
Emma, there
Yes,
was
darling.
a contest we started last week.
Oh, and you know what? Oh, did we have some responses?
Oh,
You know,
really?
I'm absolutely thrilled by the responses, and I'm gonna read my favorite.
Wait, before you do, we gotta remind people what it is. You guys, we're having a contest to win Evil Knievel Stunt Cycle. And all you have to do is write a poem or a song about Evil Knievel and send it to us at recyclemotorcyclegarage@gmail.com. And we're going to pick the top 3. Everyone's going to win a Evil Knievel, the new trail bike. Emma, I got a short one I want to read first, and then we got yours, and then I got another one. We've had quite a few good ones. And this one, I'm sorry, I can't do. Actually, yeah, I can't do the accent. This is from Newcastle, New South Wales, and this is from Gwyn, who says,
Oh, I'm looking at this one now.
"Evil once took the long ride to Throgmorton, which transformed his long schlong to a shorten. To make up for that, he behaved like a twat and farted like a 650 Norton."
Can you send all 3 of the toys to that person right now, please?
Oh my god.
No, I
We're
think
definitely
I
bonus
hate
for
to call it
winners.
early, but if you could have put the word vinegar stroke in there, it's the only way it would have gotten any better.
and even better, he says, in the chance that this shit limerick wins, I would like you to donate the toy to a local kid.
Oh,
Very nice.
I know, right?
but
Well,
you know
Isn't
what?
that great?
I'm going to stick my neck out here, and I know postage is going to be expensive. I'm going to send him something,
Maybe.
and I haven't decided what yet. So did he actually send us his address?
Well, I have his email address, so we're not choosing winners. This contest is going
No,
for another
he's getting.
week.
That's
Well, yes, but he's going to get something.
Oh, you liked it?
I
All
liked
right.
it so much. He's going to get
Well-
something. So, Gwyn, we need your actual address. Now, I'm not saying you won.
an
Well, you've
honorable
got his
mention
email.
prize.
Email him.
And Job and Yali.
And these are just some examples. People are doing a great job. We haven't had any songs. They're all poems. And we're not reading. These aren't winners. The contest is going till March 8th. Emma, you have one there from
I do.
a famous person.
Do it? Hang on, wait a minute.
Oh.
Did you see who it's from?
God, it's from Budget Bell.
Yes, the AMA
Yes,
Motorcyclist of the Year.
the Northern Monkey herself,
Yes.
Budget Bell, also known as Haley Bell.
Yeah.
Hello, Haley Bell, darling.
Hello.
So here we are. Here is my poem entry for Evil Poem Comp. Are we all sitting comfortably?
yes.
Yeah. Wait,
Then I shall begin.
bring your microphone in front of your mouth a little more. There you go.
Are you happy with that?
Yes.
Evil Knievel, what a legend of a guy. He rode his motorbike until he taught it to fly. Buses, buildings, ramp, no matter. Evil jumped them all, mostly landing with a clatter. You see, Evil was exceptional at soaring through the air, but landing his motorcycle, this he didn't care. People came from far and wide to see Evil in action, but the crowds cheered more when he missed the landing by a fraction. Broken bones skirting death. This is very long.
Yeah.
Broken bones skirting death. It was worth it in the end to experience flight on a Harley before testing how much it could bend. Evil rode a risky game, and people thought it was a matter of time before he crashed just that bit too hard and crossed that thin line. Each time he defied death, the crowd was left in a quiver. Who knew the Reaper would come not for his bike, but for his liver? He was a notorious arsehole, but a showman at stunts. He hated the media and called them all cunts. And as a final postscript, Haley writes, I want to win an evil toy for writing this tonight so I can call the media cunts too and take off in flight. The end.
Nice.
That's just
A great
wonderful.
Brilliant.
Yeah, there's a bunch that are making me laugh.
I'm
So,
just
yeah.
glad after this competition, I don't have to worry about my language anymore.
So yeah, if you would like to enter to win an Evil Knievel stunt cycle toy, make up a poem or a song, send it to recyclemotorcyclegarage@gmail.com. We'll be picking a winner next week on our show. Yeah, so we got some good ones. I have some more news. I fell in love with another bike.
What?
The good news is it's one of my bikes.
Oh, really?
That makes it easier.
Which
The
one?
690 Enduro. I finally took it for a nice long ride. Well, usually Jim is my riding buddy. We go off on adventures. But this time it was John who was with me. And we headed off our own adventure out to Hollister Hills. Now, usually we load up the dirt bikes and go there because, if you fall, break a lever or something, you need a way back. But no, we decided let's just go for it. And he took his KLR 650. I took the 690 Enduro, and we rode out there, stopped for tacos in Watsonville, as you do. Because there's got to be food on all my
As is
my
tradition.
rides. Yeah, exactly. Went to Hollister Hills, which has, during the whole COVID when they're shut down, they plowed all the paths. So no more like hard pack and sand. It was just all like beautiful. A lot of it was like large, chunky dirt, just like bleh. And the KTM, it performed exactly like I wished it would. It was exactly what I've been looking for. I've tried a bunch of different dirt bikes, but for me, it rode like a dirt bike. Like you sit up on the tank, got elbows up and riding like a dirt bike, but it also tracked like an adventure bike, like it dug down in. It wasn't like flirting around on the dirt. It just chugged. And my concern for a 690 is that it would be a little too twitchy and too powerful. But I just stuck that thing in first gear and it was just a tractor, much like the KLR. And I was able to just zoom around and have all the control and confidence there. And John, this was your first time at Hollister Hills. Were you like a little worried going there on a bike like the KLR? Like, what were you thinking?
Yeah, but just one thing about it, was a glorious day. Let me just say, it was one of the best days of riding I've had in a while. So I'm so glad we got to go out there. I've been wanting to go to Hollister Hills for a long time, but especially because I have a KLR. I didn't want to go out there on my own. I was a little intimidated by the place. So I was real happy when Liza said, "Hey, let's go out there." So we jumped on and went. It was, of course I was a little intimidated because, the KLR, man, you knock that thing over. It's like it takes a mountain man to pick it back up again. So I'm always worried about like getting stuck somewhere. But at the end of the day, it was great. We stayed mostly on blue trails, and I think we hit a couple
medium trails.
Yeah. And I just ended up having a great time. And we were talking, Liza and I, about, so you hit that point in the day where you're like, okay, now I'm relaxed. Now I'm feeling it.
You're in the groove.
I could just, and I got there and it was awesome. So I was just super thrilled. So Hollister is amazing. If you haven't been there and you're in the local area, it's such a great place to go. And I don't know that I want to be there in the middle of summer, but when we were at the dirt, like Liza said, it was grippy and it was great. It wasn't muddy, so it was kind of a perfect situation. So I'm already jonesing to go back there. It was awesome. And that store they have there, I think it's Fault Line store.
Fault Line, yeah.
Super impressed. I mean, that guy does a great job. It's a well-stocked store. It's actually worth going there for the store because of that great gear and great stuff. So awesome day, incredible day.
Well, and we've talked about this before. Another great tool that we use, and Jim pretends he hates it, but it comes in handy, is having the helmet comms, especially at a place like this where I'm in front and I can say like, all right, big big dip, so stay to the left on this one. Or, hey, coming up to a hill, hold back. I'll let you know when it's good to come. Like, just for somebody who's never been there, and I can tell them, here's what we're coming up to. But also, I'd stop and say, here's where Jim's son got hit in the nuts.
Nuts.
I think it's a great tool because you just like to talk.
And here's where Jim's daughter sailed through the fence and almost died. Yeah. But it was good. We were able to get into some technical stuff. Did a little hill climb, not one of the big ones. Mike, have you been out there since they plowed everything?
No. Last time I was there was I think I went after the desert. Didn't I go after we went to Johnson Valley, Jim? And you got angry because I sent you a picture?
Oh, I don't know, Mike, but it's hard for me to hear. I'm driving back from the Sierras right now, where I was just riding fire roads.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah. Sorry, I meant to call you, really.
Yeah, no, the last time I was there, it was a bit, I don't know how you explain it. Like, some of the roads seemed like they're paved. Like, there's like asphalt under it, and then they put dirt on top of it. So there was a lot of that kind of stuff.
That's what I was explaining. Last time Jim and I went there, it was hard pack with like loose sand on top. And I was like, nope, done. I'm not interested in riding on this.
No, I went like 2 or 3 times. And one of the times Trevor crashed the CRF. But yeah, that might have been the last time I went because there's still dirt on my bike.
Yeah. Well, it's really good. They've done a lot of maintenance to it. Every single section was open. So we rode all over. And then when we left there, we still weren't done. You know, when you're like in the groove and like you don't want to stop riding, even though it's starting to get colder. We rode the long way home, went through Hollister and then through Gilroy up to Hecker Pass and did like the twisties up over the mountain. And I was so in the groove. Like I was feeling good with those tires. And then having that 690 with enough power to really just like, wah, every now and then I just like, wah, and giggle. Like it does that.
Good.
You know? That's something that I love about a bike, that it's there. What I really loved about this bike is it could be a tractor when I needed it to be a tractor. It could be like a supermoto and have all the power and fun and flickability when I needed it to. The only thing it didn't do well when we're on the freeway doing like 75. And sometimes I get kind of wobbles or a track kind of weird. But Charlie thinks that it may be the suspension setup, that it put the weight too far to the back and made the front too light, that it could create that wobble, and that by getting the suspension done, I might be able to fix that.
But the thing about that, Liza, is that like the one thing that I kind of started to realize is that, like, you know, if you're going to have a bike that's kind of a Swiss Army bike, like you're not going to get, you know, one great thing or the other. And any kind of dirt bike you have, they're like long and thin. And they do that on the free. I've never had a bike that didn't. But the thing is, you start fucking with the suspension and then you go back to Hollister and hit a jump and the shit's too stiff. I mean, it's not going to work for you. So it's like, you got to kind of find that middle ground.
We're going to do another suspension day with JP Hans.
Yeah, I need to do that.
Yeah. And I'll have him look at it because maybe it's just not right. I don't expect this to be a good freeway bike. The KLR and the Africa Twin are good for that. I can do long distance. I can haul gear. I can do everything. This doesn't need to be a freeway bike, but it was everything I wanted it to be. And it was really good at those things. It was a really good dirt bike. It was a really good, like almost supermoto, even though I had knobbies.
So wait, you bleed orange now?
Loved it. I loved it. I loved it. And John's like, every time we go on a ride, you ride a different bike and you tell me how much you love that bike.
You guys should take my 2-stroke, the 300 if you like them so much.
Look, you all know, you all have multiple bikes. Every single one of you, right?
Yeah.
You all get it. You can have multiple loves. Oh my gosh, I just realized we're polygamist motorosexuals.
So,
yeah.
Why is it always got to get weird?
Well,
you know what
that's
I mean?
not weird.
No,
I'm saying it's okay to love more than one bike.
Like, why is it got to be love? It can't just be love. It's got to be like there's got to be some sort of intercourse or some weird shit. You know what I mean? Some penetration. Listen, let me tell you something. You're talking about leaving Hollister when it's cold.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit about the cold. My problem with Hollister, and I don't know if this is me or my eyes, but like there's a certain point, like when you go, like you would know as well as I do, because we get the hour trip there, hour back, right? So you've got to leave early in the morning and get a couple trips. And it's depending on who you're riding with, like one trip out could be 30, 40 minutes. Next, you know, it's lunchtime. Maybe you take another ride, you know what I mean? And then you come back and snack and have some more, and then you go take another ride. So it's like, how many rides can you get in a day? But then you have people who are like, oh, cool, let's do like a sunset ride. Fuck that. Listen, 3:30 and like, and you're coming up on roads where like the sun hits a certain angle and like you can't fucking see. So you're going on a path and it's like full sunlight, and then all of a sudden you duck behind where there's some shade, and then like you could be hitting like a 3-foot bump, and you're just, oh fuck, you know what I mean? And you just can't see. And like I've always been like that, where people always want to go out in the late afternoon and go rip through Hollister, and I'm like, I'll pass, dude. Like I'm just good, because it's just like, and then what happens? You crash off the side. Now you're fucked on the cold, and then you know what I mean? Now it's too cold because you're stuck with a broken leg.
Said the man with a heater next to him in Santa Cruz.
You know it, but listen,
and you're loading up in the dark too, right?
In the low fight, it's not that bad. I got lights in my truck, but
Yeah.
you know what the thing is? You need to put on the list of places in Hollister, like historical mention, is where Bukkake Dave went through the tree, like the Looney Tunes character. Like it was like one of these marks with the leg up, and it was just a silhouette through like the side of a tree, and then like 30 feet down, we're like, oh my god, the kid's fucking dead. He's dead.
That's a good story. That's a good story. I'll tell you, Bagel, don't worry. I've seen Mike pack up at 3:30 in the morning in a windstorm. So
This is true.
He's running away.
Yeah, I was like, fuck this, I'm out of here. Yo, listen. You ever seen a tent slap somebody in the face, 5 fingers straight across the face because of the wind? I have.
Yeah, mine was beating me all
Dude,
night.
I seen a tent like shred into pieces in front of my eyes at 3 a.m, and I'm like, yeah, and then who's Jim's? Oh, I'm gonna tough it out.
It was really demanding. I got in my truck.
Like, damn, there goes my mini bike fucking like floating away.
Jim, unfortunately, it's really hard to understand you, but we'll have to wait for you to come back and you can share that story even more. But John, it was a great ride. The only other
except for the
part,
flaw with the KTM, which we found.
So
there's one flaw with that bike that you didn't mention.
I'm going to say, hey, look, kudos to you. You tried.
I tried.
I've been known to say John has unfortunately stubby, thick, like tree trunk legs. A lot of people have them. It happens. There's definitely some bikes you cannot ride.
Darling, I'm going to stop you there.
Oh gosh.
John is compact and bijou, darling. Compact and bijou.
So I give him credit because the whole time we're riding, I'm like, dude, this bike is amazing. You got to try it.
Oh,
so finally, at one point when we were coming home on Freedom Boulevard, which is just a long straightaway, and I'm like, all right, nothing like crazy here, right? I pull over, stop, put it on the kickstand, leave it running. I'm like, dude, you got to try it. And he's like, okay. So he's going to go for it. Well, first he tries to kick a leg over. That's not happening. Right? So then he does the proper ADV mount of left foot on the foot peg, up and over. We're good. He's on. Except now we got to get the kickstand up. So I'm like, no, you got to get over to the right to get the kickstand up. And he's reaching. And I will say it was a slight dip down because it's on the side of the road. So he's getting his leg down. He's reaching. Nothing's there. And I'm like, I'll spot you. And I'm holding the bike and I'm kind of leaning it against like my thigh, right? And we're leaning the bike over, and he's trying to reach the ground so he can get the kickstand. And then he's like, uh-oh. Bike's at like a 45-degree angle, and I've got it rested on my thigh.
Nice.
And he's now at the point of no return. Right? There's no getting back up on it, but his leg is stuck on the bike because he still can't kick his leg over to get off.
Oh no.
And I'm going, you gotta get off this thing. Now I'm holding his weight and the bike's weight with my leg. And cars are passing us, and I wonder what they're thinking.
Squat hard.
And then John made the ultimate commitment, and I saw he just turned and looked to the side, and he just fully committed to like a Superman leap. Just went for it, right? And I was like, man, you tried. I can respect you for that.
I'm sure it looked like a very fat monkey trying to hump a football.
And just sadly, the logistics just weren't there. The physics was not working.
Not because he didn't want to.
Huh?
It's not because he didn't want to. No.
No, he tried, but you know what? It is hard. It's that bloody kickstand. I should have not had the kickstand up and spotted the bike for him.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda.
I don't know.
Yeah, I could have wrote it then. I'm sure.
We'll have to play with it, but I
Next
just thought it must have been like people driving by going, "What the hell is happening?" You tried. It was good.
Hey.
But you know, I'm talking about like I've just discovering like more passion. Like I love this bike so much, but I'm curious if there are bikes that you guys have on your list that you want to try. Like not necessarily that you want to buy, but that you want to experience, you want to understand. I will say, for example, I've never ridden a VMAX. It's been on my list for decades. I don't need to own one. I want to feel it. I've been told that these bikes can scare the bejesus out of you. Emma, you've ridden one, yeah?
Yeah, I've ridden many VMAXs.
Are they pretty like crazy?
No, I mean, they're not as crazy as you think. I mean,
Okay.
I'm not suggesting for a moment if you get on one, you'd feel underwhelmed. I mean, it's a violent riding bike.
Yes.
They accelerate like nothing else on the road. They sound like nothing else on the road. I mean, it's an amazing experience. The Gen 2 ones are better. The Gen 1s are not a good handling bike. And you've really got to kind of push them around. They're kind of like the ultimate kind of dude's bike. I mean, it requires a heavy hand. I mean, I always pictured the ideal rider of a VMAX is, Coach. Coach rides a VMAX. It's that kind of bike.
Well, it's like a drag bike. I mean,
yeah, right, exactly. I mean, you need to be somewhat athletic. You need to be able to sort of take control of the thing. And yeah, it's a thing, but it's definitely an experience.
Well, Emma, what for you is a bike that you've yet to ride? Maybe it's something that isn't out yet or is about to come out. Like I'm guessing the new Trident, is that on your list? Like you?
Yeah, but I mean, I know what it's going to ride like because modern Triumphs just ride so well. My dream bike, I've ridden a Benelli 6, which is my dream bike, which rides like an old 70s bike. And I've ridden an NR 750 Honda. I wouldn't mind riding one of those again. I rode one when it was new. And I remember being just overwhelmed by how good it was back then. But that was 30 years ago. And I suspect it'd ride like a very, very well sorted Interceptor now. But the one bike I'd really like to try is the gas turbine bikes.
Oh, wait, you mean like the Y2K?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. And the reason is the power delivery of gas turbines. I've actually driven a gas turbine bus. And the way a gas turbine engine produces power is so completely different to what we're used to. I think riding one of those Y2Ks would really be an experience. I told you about the legend of the motorcycle, didn't I?
Mm-hmm.
That we were all crammed in this motel room and the frigging Y2K bikes were firing up at 4 a.m. in the next thing and waking up the whole of the hotel. But it's just, it's a device. It's an amazing device. And I think the experience, as someone who's been lucky enough to ride pretty much everything with an internal combustion engine and two wheels, it'd be such a different experience. And I still like the idea of riding something that is so fast that it's like scary.
That's kind of where I'm at. Well, that's a good one. How about Mike? What about you? What's on your?
RC8.
Oh,
Oh, yes.
RC8.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I
I'll
just-
get one. I'm definitely gonna have one.
You can have one. Nice.
Oh, you're fucking damn right.
Craig might still have one. He had one, I thought.
Yeah, I know he did. I'm just like, I'll not know which one I'm willing to get rid of to make room for it. I don't want to leave bikes outside.
But that's a
Don't
bike
get
you
rid
want
of
to
it.
own. Is there a bike you don't necessarily want to own? You just want to experience?
Fucking not really. I mean, like I've tried a bunch of different bikes and I have, all different types. I mean, like it's not like much of them are enigmas to me.
Yeah.
I've ridden very fast bikes.
You want to
ridden
ride a
slow,
scooter.
shitty toppers. You know what I mean? Like
Scooters.
yeah, I rode the scooter on that tin butt. I mean, like
That's right.
I mean, like yeah. I'd be honest with you. The next bike I'm going to do and build is probably going to be like a really high-end cafe racer because I haven't had one of those and I haven't owned one, and I think I could make it look really sick.
Dude,
But
the Harley
I don't know
Cafe
if that-
Racer. The Harley Cafe Racer.
Yeah.
What is that model? It's not an FXR. What is it?
It's the XLCR.
We
Excellent.
have one at my work with the Siamese head pipe.
They're
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Super rad, weird iron head stuff.
Well, I really always loved the custom chrome. Used to have bike kits when you could build a chopper, and they had one that was a sport cafe
Cafe
thing
your Sportster kit.
with a big twin. I thought it was cool.
I just don't know how comfortable I feel about it be twin on a cafe. Like I just don't know that it has kind of those same lines. I mean, it would give you a very streamlined look, but I'm kind of wide, so like the
Hold on.
narrower bike, the
Hold
weirder
on.
I look.
Emma,
Yeah.
V twin cafe racers. Go. I know
Well-
I've seen it. Was it no
Like a
Norton?
Moto Guzzi.
Yeah, Moto Guzzi is the obvious one. Ducati.
Yeah, there's a lot.
I know, but I like the kind of like the parallel twin or the inline four look.
Okay.
You know what I mean? With the
Yeah.
four pipes and it kind of beefs it out in the front a little bit. And I think that the other thing is too, one of the things that I like about bikes is I like a beefy front end and a narrow back end. Kind of like a bulldog,
Mhm.
for whatever reason, like that to me, it just looks aggressive. And I think I can get more of a look like
Well,
that with a cafe.
Much like you,
Concord.
you've got massive shoulders and a tiny ass.
Yeah, I got,
Yeah.
I got little broomstick legs, Coke straw legs.
It's
Liza,
funny.
you remember your
My legs are
Yes.
like 2 rolled up dollar bills. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Jim,
yeah.
the
I was
concourse.
saying, like, remember your concourse you guys took all the plastics off of?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's what
remember
Mike's
that.
talking about. When that concourse was naked, it looked tough.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Who bought
Jim's-
that bike? Who bought that bike?
Frank, the one who just
Did he
killed
blow
her.
that up too?
Poor Frank.
He's working on it.
Jim, how about you? Is there a bike on your radar that you want to just try?
Yeah, guys have been building these for a while, and I think there's the backyard versions of more refined ones. But to follow Mike, the big American V twins, the Carducci dual sport bike.
Oh,
The
Yes.
bike that Jim Carducci built for Tony Guerra and the Baja
Yeah.
1000 with the 100-mile-an-hour headlight. I would love to take one of those big Harley V twins for a rip through the dirt.
ooh, that's
So that'd be mine.
that's a good one.
Mhm.
All right, Bagel. I'm gonna go out on a limb here.
I don't even want to ride my Harley on the street sometimes. There's no fucking way I'm putting that thing in the dirt. I'm just saying.
Bagel. Any chance that it's a motorcycle, not a scooter, that you've always wanted to try?
There are a couple actually.
Or is a scooter? So, are there scooters you have yet to ride?
Well, honestly,
Oh wait, can I
there's
guess?
not okay.
It's a buddy with a sidecar. That's what you've been dying to try.
No,
No.
not really. The first thing that came to mind for me was electric bikes, because I have not had
yeah.
a chance to try a lot of electric bikes. There is an electric scooter called the Cezeta, which is a reproduction of a vintage Czechoslovakian scooter from the 50s and 60s that they're now producing in electric. I would love to give that a try sometime. I don't know if I'd buy one, but I would definitely give that a try. Another electric bike, a motorcycle that I have not tried yet, is the Zero SRS. I have ridden the SRF, which was phenomenal, but I really like the SRS and have not had a chance to ride that yet. Another electric that I just heard about recently on the Cleveland Moto podcast, which they talked about in the last week or two, was the Kimco F9, which is it looks like it's being marketed as a motorcycle, but it is kind of scooter sized. It seems from what it looks like, and it's a small electric bike, and that really appeals to me. So I'd be curious to try that one out when that's out to see what that's like. But there is one gas-powered motorcycle that came to mind. Well, actually two. One that's vintage, which I've never had a chance to ride yet, would be a Kawasaki H1. I've ridden an S3 before, which is one of the smaller triples. I think it's the 400 if I remember.
Yeah,
correctly.
S3's the 400.
Yeah, and that was fun, even though it was only running on 2 cylinders. but I would love to try an H1, the real Widowmaker, and just feel the fear-inducing power of that bike, just to see what that's like. and preferably not in any curves. But the other bike that I would like to try is the Yamaha Niken. This is the 3-wheel.
I liked it.
Yamaha.
Surprisingly.
There's
Because
lots of
it's so-
forks on that. Lots of forks.
Yes. It's so bizarre and just weird. I would love to just try it out just to see what it's like. So those are my thoughts on trying what I haven't tried before.
Nice. John.
Yes.
Mhm.
So I got a couple. When I was young, my dad had a Husqvarna 360. The one with the red gas tank with the chrome in the center.
Mhm.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I was in love with that bike, and I used to, I was like 4. So, and then he got rid of it, blah, blah, blah. But I would love to ride that and just to experience it, which is really one of the more modern new motocross bikes. I mean, Husqvarnas were pretty amazing. So one day I'll own one of those, hopefully. And the other bike, the new bike I'm interested in, and I'm not a cruiser guy, but I would love to ride that BMW R18, that big 1800 cc.
Oh,
they just put out.
Yeah, the new one.
Yeah, that thing looks real. I'd love to just see what the power is like on that.
Interesting. Rick, how about you?
I got a couple too. Yeah. Pan America.
Yes,
I mean,
it's on my list.
from working for Harley for a long time while that was being developed and stuff, like that is such a new part of the market to play with. I don't know if it's going to sink or float or what, but I'm curious to see it. It's cool. All ships rise with the tide. I'm all about motorcycling as a whole. So if there's going to be more cool toys on the road, hell yeah. Who cares who makes it,
And have you guys, since they've been releasing more information, have you guys been seeing about the Pan America? Like
Aquaman's been telling me.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I assumed it was going to be like a 10-year-old adventure bike with not all the bells and whistles. When I think of like, a big twin, I just think it's going to be a lot of power. But John, you have some of the specs there. It has a lot of the electronics. One, which might help men like you, John. Give us some
Training
of the
wheels?
specs on it.
No.
No. Do you know about the suspension?
So there's two versions they're doing. They have a base version which has just a normal passive suspension, and then the S version is the one that has all the tricked out suspension pieces. I mean, the thing that would just thrill my stubby little heart is when you come up to a stop, it'll actually lower itself to the ground for the rider. And
Nice.
and then as soon as you take off again, it lifts back up again. I think that's super cool. And then when you get into the different rider modes, it'll automatically adjust the suspension based on the rider mode that you're in. So which is super cool. And then the last thing it'll do is if you get the bike with bags on it and you're going on a tour, as soon as you turn it on, it'll sense the weight on the bike and it'll adjust the suspension based on what the laden weight is on the bike itself. So that's new. I've never heard of anybody doing those things together.
Not the GSA, the GS Rally.
So like recalibrate.
Okay, the Rally does that.
Yeah,
Okay.
the GS Rally does that.
Super cool. It's a big bike. It's 1250 cc's, and I'm excited about that new engine to see what they do with that, and hopefully people will buy it.
I mean,
but
this
it's
is
heavy.
It's the first new engine, right? I mean, that motor is supposed to be going into a bunch of different bikes, so let's see what happens, right? Like,
absolutely.
And they're making some pretty bold claims over the power output of that engine. I mean,
they're saying 150 horsepower with 94 foot-pounds of torque.
I'm going to say
a lot of
from the Harley world too, though. That's at your crank. Most, at least historically, those numbers were measured before going through a transmission and a wheel and life.
But I mean,
same time,
it's stout. Those are stout.
Yeah, no
numbers.
doubt. Totally. There's another bike that I noticed, and not because I work for them, although that was pretty rad because I got to see one. Indian just re-released the Chief, so it's a whole new model. So what we got now, instead of a cast frame, we have a tubular frames motorcycle. It's going with the power plant. Let me jump my screen here because I had the notes, and if I say shit wrong, I'm gonna feel like a fucking dumb. The power plant in it, we're effectively getting the same stuff that we're putting in the bigger bikes, and we're kind of filling a hole. Like, I ride dynos. I've been used to that for a really long time. I'm used to like the V-twin and the torque and not having a lot of extra stuff.
Yeah,
that's what this Chief is. It's a tubular frame. The front neck gusset's super awesome. It looks like it's on an old FL or something. You can like see through it in front of the tank. It's got a really neat look. We had one sneak through the shop for our local Indian rep, and we got to all like put eyes on it before anyone else did. It's pretty neat, man. I didn't get to ride it yet, but I want to ride that thing. Having all the power, all the weight gone. It's a dual shock system in the back, so it'll be a little more familiar for some folks. But you got something with a whole hell of a lot of power. It's 120 foot-pounds of torque in a stock bike.
Wow.
Yeah, and you got something that doesn't have bags, doesn't have a fairing in the front. It's a very stripped-down, normal-looking motorcycle. So I want to ride that. I want to welcome some more dyno-sized stuff back into the market. I'm seeing there was a division. Things got smaller and things got bigger. But this in-between world didn't have a lot of I guess other things I want to ride, I'm with Bagel, electric bikes. There's so much cool stuff out there I haven't gotten an opportunity to check out. I also want to ride my dyno that I've blown up into 100 pieces and I'm currently fixing. So, that would be cool one day.
Yeah, I'd like to ride a lot of my bikes that aren't running right now, too.
Right? Is that a feasible one to put on the list? Can I ride my Panhead I'm not done paying for?
Well, I assume a lot of people are excited about the Pan America. I think I want it to succeed. I'll be honest. At first, I was like, "What? There's no way Harley can build something that's going to be dollar for dollar comparison to Super 10s, to Africa Twins, to GSs." I'm like, "There's no way. It's going to just be a glorified adventure bike for people who want the Harley name." But now that I'm looking at John, do you have the price on it? Is it it's starting?
It's like 17.4 for the low end and 19.9 for the tricked out one.
So, and you're getting at I think the Africa Twin high end is about 17. So it's not that far off. And it's up there with the GS. There's a chance. This is why I want to ride it so much. There's a chance that they have made an adventure bike that's going to compete dollar for dollar, pound for pound with all the other adventure bikes. And if that's true, and the Livewire, which has been proven itself to be a better bike than what we expected, that means that the diversification that's happening at Harley, that they may actually be on track.
Well, but are they actually continuing to produce the Livewire, though? It sounded like they may have
Oh yeah, they may have pulled the plug. That's right.
Well,
I
it
don't
disappeared on the website for a while, and then it came back.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I
It
don't.
is
but they
back?
haven't released the
Okay.
21 yet. They still have the 20s.
They're
So-
also going through the rewiring thing where a lot of stuff's
Yeah.
getting changed. So, but I'm
The
welcoming
relive
the
wire?
Pan America. That's part of it, you know.
So
You're right.
I have
It's that diverse-
I have I'm calling it a bike, but it's technically a trike that I'm guessing all of you want to try. You don't know it, but you do.
Oh,
And in
Trikey?
fact, you can find this on AliExpress.
oh no.
to my door.
Oh, God.
Okay,
Boy.
I'm serious. I want to. I was like, I should get it just so we can try it. Okay, I'm going to show you what this is. It is a 3-wheeled
Oh,
RV on a tuk-tuk frame, and
I
it's
could live
all
in it.
electric.
it's like my
brilliant.
house.
Wow.
But three-wheel.
It's electric RV.
How
Okay.
fast does it go?
Okay.
It's a
It has a top speed of 25 miles per hour.
Where are you going to go in that?
Hold on.
down by the
Hold
river.
How do you get back up from the river?
Very a
Go,
wind.
Hold
go
on.
ahead, go ahead and ship it to Cleveland Moto now.
Triple A. That's how you get back out.
Let me okay, there's a
You call
video
Mike Miranda and he gets one of his 17 motorcycles to drag you out of the ditch.
where you can there's a video showing you the inside, and it's
Oh, wow.
Oh, I'm
pretty
sure
nice.
there's
It's
good
got a
sides.
wall outlet, and it has a bunk above and storage units and
Uh-huh.
Liza, how many easy payments can we make to get this thing?
okay, well hold on. So
Three
it does,
easy payments of 10,000 rupees.
it does 25 miles an hour and an expected range of about 80 to 90 miles.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm in.
I'm just wondering who needs an RV
What could possibly go
that
wrong?
goes 80 miles
Is that a stripper
in a
pole?
day.
At 25 miles an hour.
It's great. That's like retirement in a vehicle.
Well, but here's the beautiful part. This is only one payment of $4,000, shipping included.
What?
Oh my God.
If we get stimulated for $4,000, I want
Yeah.
one.
Okay, now you're with me, right?
Yeah.
I want one just
Because-
because it's weird.
Can I turn it into like a coffee cart and like make a business out of it and write it off or something?
You can do that without having to buy an RV.
I mean, come on, right?
Rick, what you need to buy is a Bajaj 3-wheeler, Rick.
I think, yeah, the ones that are coffee carts generally, right?
Yes.
I've seen such a thing. Yeah.
Right. Much less
Also-
work involved. And you can go faster too.
There was a
I'm
guy in Alvarado in Monterey that had one for about 4 minutes.
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah.
I'm going to
Listen.
stick my neck out
Yes.
with that RV.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say that when it arrives, it's going to be a lot smaller than you think it is.
Yeah.
Object in photo may appear larger than in real life.
My suspicion is that person that was
Tiny?
inside may have been a tiny child
Built of tiny parts.
with an adult's face. And so, you know, they built this thing, and the most expensive part of the development was finding a child with an adult's face and teaching a toddler to point at things like they're an adult.
Renting a Cabbage Patch doll to walk
Exactly.
into the RV. Yeah.
Okay.
I think when it arrives, it will arrive in a box that's about the size of a shoebox.
All right. I got the price wrong. It's $4,800,
Yes.
Oh, no.
and the shipping isn't free. It costs $2,500 to get it shipped.
Oh,
Oh.
jeez.
But on Alibaba, if you just order 500 of them, you can get it down to $3,000.
We could start a dealership of these things.
Right?
Or maybe not.
I have to be honest, like if this was a gas motor and I could actually like go a little bit faster, a little bit further, even if you're going like 50 miles an hour or something, that would be an interesting way to
That's a
ride
little trip.
across the country, right?
Well,
With a mini RV,
Totally. Route 66.
Yeah.
Totally.
avoid
if you go on
turns.
back roads and avoid
Yeah, back
mountains,
road-
sure.
It could be an interesting, as long as you could gas up and keep
Put a
going and
Gixxer
actually do
motor
like
in
300 miles a day, maybe.
It needs some Busa power, maybe. That could do it.
You're 300 miles a day is very optimistic, Liza.
I know. I know.
You know, there are
What size are the wheels?
probably 10-inch.
Are they?
Tuk-tuk
Okay.
size.
Yeah, right.
They're generally 10-inch wheels. You know, there was actually I don't know if it was actually built, but there were these mock-ups going around on the internet about a Vespa Ape, which is the Vespa Three-Wheeler,
Yeah.
which similar to a tuk-tuk, but basically a cargo van style, that somebody had designed an RV that you could build inside of it with a full-size bed and everything. And this is a vehicle that's probably 8 feet long and 4 feet wide.
Yeah.
And they designed an entire camper around one of these things. And this thing looks luxurious in comparison to it. So
Wow. Well, there's one other bike that I do want to ride, and that is the new KLR 650. And I want to see, with slight tweaks, fuel injection, if it's really different or not, you know, how much of a difference. I mean, are you expecting that it'll feel like the same bike?
I mean, I don't see, aside from the obvious that they fuel injected it, I don't see it being fundamentally different. I mean, the KLR, I mean, we joke about it being the cockroach of motorcycling, but it's actually quite a pleasant bike to ride. And I expect that the new one will be quite a pleasant bike to ride. You know, I don't expect it to be fundamentally different. I think it'll run a little bit cleaner.
It'll still do KLR things and feel.
Yeah,
KLR
exactly.
like.
It'll sound like a KLR and it'll look like a KLR. And, you know, it's going to be a wonderful thing.
Yeah, the only downside, I think, is a little heavier. It's like 30 pounds heavier.
Right.
The horsepower numbers are about the same.
Yeah. So
it's a little porkier.
Well, I like seeing all these new things, and I'm excited for new bikes. I know, like Jim, usually when we go to shows or events, like you just go out and test ride bikes, you know, try them all. These are the ones but the Pan America, I want to understand it. I want to see it. I'm just saying, that's it. We have a couple of emails to get to, and Emma.
Oh, yes.
If you can get yours ready, I'm going to read just a short one, but I think it is an important one. And this one is from Brandon, and he says, this is a safety PSA. He says, hey guys, Brandon from Jacksonville, Florida here. I'd love for you to bring up this again, because no one should be complacent in these matters. Would love to hear you guys read it, but I understand if you don't or feel you shouldn't. Just wanted to put this out there as a newer, younger rider. Witnessing this has had me, given me a lot to think about and be thankful for. Today he witnessed a fellow motorcyclist in an accident. He's stable, last he heard, and the family's been reached. Graphic content here. He was involved in a T-bone with a car. He careened over his handlebars and landed on the other side of traffic, hitting a signpost in midair, severing one of his legs and mangling the other.
Oh, wow.
Luckily, no one else was physically injured in this incident. He was rushed to the hospital less than a mile away, and minutes after the call went out, and there were many people who came together to do what they could do before the ambulance arrived. This man was conscious and responsive to those around him. He was wearing a helmet, though no other gear. I wish him the best recovery. In addition, I plead that everyone be safe out there. Don't be in a hurry. Make sure you're always vigilant and aware. Have fun reasonably. And it is a good reminder. And it's sad when there are other motorcyclists, especially newer ones, who witness something like this, and it can scare them. And the other thing, though, I'm so glad he was wearing a helmet. There's no gear that's going to save your legs on that one.
No.
Gear is not going to save you. That is tragic. We don't know what happened, if it was rider fault, driver fault. Don't know any of those things. Wish him the best. but I hope he's okay. Emma, you got one to read there?
I do. And it's one that's very, very close to my heart, and it's from Brett Farrell, or Farrell. Dear Misfits, I hope this mail finds you in good health, both physically and mentally. Well, blah. I've been really sick with a bad cough for a month now. COVID test came back negative, though, but I'm not so sure. However, I'm not sick enough to think about bikes. Smiley face. I'm just writing to give an update on the Triton I got after Miss Emma stroked my imagination to keep my 1969 T120 company. Unfortunately, no children yet from the pairing. I mean, God knows what those poor children would look like. Some funny findings. It's a PK serial number and the 75th to last T150 ever made. So the way Triumph numbers go, PK basically means November 74. So whenever you look at any Triumph made in a certain period of time, you can actually, by dissecting the first two letters of the prefix on the frame number down, you know basically which month it rolled off the production line. And of course, if you get one that was made in the middle of winter, like January and February, everybody's bloody freezing, and it's an awful thing. So I finally got a younger model than my wife by a month. Oh, God. It's got 7,000 miles on the clock. Firstly, I bought it from an Austrian gentleman called Bruno. He looks as you would imagine. The man, he looks, but you will have to imagine the mankini yourself. Oh, my God. He guaranteed there was good compression and low links, but he thinks he might not have been referring to the bike. The gusher of an oil leak started about 15 seconds after I left his place. Bruno had reused an old head gasket and put it back with a tear. Or is that a tear? Sniff. Oh, boo-hoo. Oh. How on earth did he keep that leak from showing during a 20-minute test ride? He changed the sump plate for a nice Les Williams sump plate with drain, but of course he put it on backwards. Yeah, she's incontinent like the rest of him, and wet sumps the whole tank if left for 2 months, even after I smoothed out the anti-drain seat. The valve guides are a little hourglass shaped, but not too far out of spec. Compression's okay. So a few questions for the font of wisdom, the teller of truths and the giver of beans. Oh, that's me.
Yes.
The giver of beans.
Oil consumption. Before owning a Trident, I'd never heard of the unit MPP. Oh, you're going to learn all about MPP, darling, which I'm guessing is miles per pint. Some of the Tridents I've read about use oil at about the rate of 200 miles per pint. Half of the folks say oil consumption is due to worn guides. The other half say it's due to worn boards. What is Miss Emma's take? C630 guides from KPMI seem a good option due to the known guide wear problems, cool or fall. And lastly, oil pressure. Reading old British magazines, it seems extraordinary that there are any Tridents still on the road. It seems every second one couldn't wait to seize a rod and stick out its middle finger to the world through the crankcase. Was the high-tech Trident with plain mains just too much for folks brought up on twins and roller mains that they kept blowing them up? I've got a pressure gauge installed and it goes down to 75 psi above 3,000 nice and hot. Any idea to prolong the life of the main bearings? Thanks so much for all the hard work, guys, and I wish you all a Merry Easter. Because hopefully by then life will have some semblance of normality. P.S. Where the hell is Nock? We are missing him. And your special episode with all the old suspects on the air was great. Cheers, Brett.
Oh, can I take this on, Emma?
Yeah, by all means.
How to make it last longer? Oil. Keep the oil in your engine. That's simple.
It helps.
The end.
Yeah, pretty much.
Good luck with a Trident. Tridents are an interesting bunch. They, a good one, and I'm not saying I own a good one yet, are a glorious thing. I've said it before, I'll say it again. There's absolutely nothing on the road that sounds like a Trident. However, like a lot of British things, they don't suffer fools gladly, and you need to have your wits about you when you put one together. As far as the specification on mine, mine's got the valve guides that Brett was talking about. However, mine has got the addition of Jaguar XJ6 stem seals on the guides. And so my oil consumption is very, very low indeed. However, there's a slight problem with Tridents. The cylinder head and the cylinder were die-cast aluminum. And when they heat cycle, they can actually change shape quite fundamentally. And this plays havoc on head gaskets, plays havoc on base gaskets, plays havoc with oil retention because sort of everything's moving around and getting wobbly. Any oil consumption above 200 miles per pint, when I say above, I mean if you're getting 250 miles per pint or 300 or 400, you're doing great. It's just one of those things with an English bike. The one thing I would suggest is I bet Brett is still using a composite head gasket, and it's generally the rule of thumb, and this tip came straight from Team Obsolete, who are actually racing them. Go for the Cometic head gasket. And the Cometic is lots and lots of layers of very, very thin steel. And they are very good indeed.
You mean not a cornflakes box?
Yeah, I know.
Not a cornflakes box on the head gasket, darling.
No, but now, if the side cover on your unit is starting to leak, Emma's got
yes. Yeah, now you reach for the cornflakes box. But, you know, the fundamental problem with this and a lot of other smaller Triumphs is they're quite unusual in that the head bolts go down through the rocker boxes. So when you torque down the head, you've got all the deflection in the rocker box to tend with as well. So what it basically means is you torque down your head, and on a Trident, I think it's not a massive number. It's like 18 foot-pounds of torque. Go for a ride and torque it down again, and then go for a ride and torque it down again. And it will take 2 or 3 torque settings of heat cycles before you get it right. But he's on the right track.
Newtons.
Yeah. Oh, I only deal in freedom measurements. I don't do that fancy European stuff, darling. The best thing, if you own a Trident and if you own a Rocket 3 or if you own any older British bike, and you know what? I'm going to throw old Italian bikes. I'm going to throw old German bikes. I'm going to throw old French bikes in with this as well.
How about Austrian?
Yes.
Okay.
Just approach them with a sense of humor because you have to. I went out for a ride on the Trident yesterday, a shakedown ride with McCarthy, and he kind of summed it up best. And we really had a very, very good ride on this, and I had a glorious ride. But he said, watching you on the Trident, I realized that 1972 standards of oil consumption and oil retention are not the same as 2020 standards. And you've really got to bear that in mind. And even if it's a BMW like an R75/5, it's still a 50-year-old bike. And 50-year-old bikes simply don't ride like modern bikes. So, you know,
Fa la la.
fa la la. You're on the right track, Brent. Just enjoy your Trident. Don't fall off it, mate.
Ride, wrench, and repeat.
Yeah, ride, wrench, and repeat. As an owner of an old Bonneville, you should know that, Rick.
You taught me everything I know, unfortunately. No.
Ha, 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 ha.
So, Jim, I know you're still driving. We'll see if it sounds good. Did you have a good day of riding? Because I know you went off for your own adventure.
If you can hear me all right, I'm
Yes.
kind of driving over the summit. It was a good day. Just, kind of be brief, but up in the Sierras, I went up into Gold Country, a little bit south of where Rick lives, I think. This is Sonora, Tuolumne, just north of the Tuolumne River. Yeah, and it was great. It's not often you can sneak out into the Sierras this time of year and get some dirt riding in, but it was great. You had wanted me to go to Hollister, and I like Hollister. It's a great time. I just wasn't in the mood to be around people and just wanted to do something different. So drove up to the foothills and rode some fire roads. It's beautiful. You can see all sorts of things. The CRF 250 Rally did great with the Tractionator tires. But it's a trail bike. I stayed on the fire roads and had a good time. So, I do a lot of that riding. It's, not the most exciting thing to hear about, but if you get a chance to get in the national forests or BLM land or whatever it might be, I definitely encourage it.
All right. I want to come on the next ride like that. Count me in, especially now that I'm melded with my 690. I'm in.
I know. I was worried. I thought you were going to give up on the.
No. Oh, you're starting to cut out now. Well, let's go to Bagel, who also went on a ride. How was your ride, Bagel?
My ride was excellent. I decided to yesterday I saw on Facebook that the Portland Scooter Club posted that they were going to have a ride on Sunday because we were going to have clear weather that was actually relatively warm for the Pacific Northwest.
Yay.
It actually got above 60 degrees today.
Good Lord.
So I decided that what the hell, I'm going to go and ride up there all the way up to Portland, which is like 2 hours and 15-minute ride, to go up and just ride around town with them. And I did. Got off a little bit later than I had hoped. So I got up there just as the ride was leaving, and I was heading towards the scooter shop, and they were coming the other way. So I did a quick U-turn and just joined in with the group.
Perfect.
And we had a fantastic ride through a bunch of the hills around Portland, and we rode all around Sauvie Island, and then back into the city, and where we stopped and had some lunch. And it was a beautiful day out. And it was so nice to actually be able to get out and ride, first of all, and then ride with a bunch of other people too, which I haven't been able to do in like forever. So it was a wonderful day. I put on, I think, 343 miles on my bike, which I believe is more than I put on the bike in the last 4 months. So on any bike, as a matter of fact. So it was a really, really nice day. It felt really good to get out. And even though I was up there for probably less time than it took me to ride up there or back, it was a lot of fun, and it felt really good to get out on the road again, and I definitely noticed how rusty my riding skills are. So it was really good that I was able to get a chance to ride and kind of hone those up a little bit and get just get that feel for riding again. And I'm looking forward to doing more once we get some more good weather.
Nice. Well, Rick, and I'm hoping someday you'll be able to give us a ride report and how good the coffee was at Starbucks.
Wait, Rick doesn't own a BMW.
Lattes and biker chinos,
I'm
man.
kidding.
I've been with this hog group for a while. No, Bagel nailed it too. That's a super valid. I got in a bike wreck once, and it took me about a year to get my bike back up, and I didn't ride for a year. And not because of the wreck or being skittish or anything, but I think just because of not being on the horse for so damn long. But that first week, there was so many little shits of me just not paying attention or being dumb or too excited to ride and not excited enough to not eat shit. So so that's kind of a good piece of advice to, tread lightly, shake the cobwebs off, if we're just getting out there. I like that.
Yeah. And it's really, for me, I felt like I needed to really get my head back into the ride again. Like I felt that I was not focusing as much as I needed to on the riding. It's just because, I haven't been riding for so long, my thoughts will just get distracted, go here and there. But it really pointed out to me, like I've got to get into riding again to be able to really focus and concentrate on what I'm doing at all times. But yeah, it was definitely good practice to get back in the groove.
And I definitely felt that on the 690 at first. I was just not as sure, and then I fell into the groove. And a lot of it too is like loosening your hips and your body up.
Yeah.
your arms and like just letting the bike do what it's supposed to do.
Yep.
And I'm hoping next week we're going to be getting some stories because something is happening tomorrow. Something very big is happening.
Something very big is happening in your email right now, Liza, and I want to hear you squeal like a little girl. I've just sent you something. Now, this is in real time,
Oh no.
and we're going to see Liza
I'm only
squeal.
moderately terrified. Did it go to your spam folder?
What the heck? Well, Emma, you want to tell everyone what's happening tomorrow? I need to get that. Are you kidding me?
Emma,
You know,
lead salesperson.
you better
This is
send.
all the things. I gotta go buy. I gotta buy. Wait, where is it?
Is it a treasure
It's
trove
in
of
Cla-
motorcycle toys?
It's in Clovis. You better get it right now.
This is a 1976 Evel Knievel Sky Cycle AM radio.
What?
the hell?
What? But they misspelled it, and it's called a Kleisel. A Kleikel.
Clickle.
You know,
It's
that
a
just makes
Kleis-
it a little cheaper,
Kleikel.
buddy. Take it.
What? I didn't even know it
Wow.
existed. This is a thing I didn't know existed. Now I gotta get it. Thanks.
Liza, you'd better get it now because you've just announced to 2,000 people.
They don't know where, or you're the one who told them where. God damn it, Emma. Oh my gosh.
Oh, sorry,
Okay.
the podcast has been delayed 24
Oh my gosh.
Liza
It's
will
amazing.
continue to
It's
edit
amazing.
that part out of the podcast.
Allegedly in Mexico.
It's
There's
got
a
wheels
radio.
on the bottom.
Yeah, you can push it around. And,
okay.
Yeah, I know.
Emma,
now.
it's got knobs. It's got knobs.
Yeah, I know. You can twiddle your knobs.
Well, it's a
Emma.
radio. Of course, it's got knobs.
Tell everyone what's happening tomorrow.
Okay. Are you sitting comfortably?
Yes.
Then I shall begin. Tomorrow I get the keys to my shop.
Hell yeah.
Ooh.
Oh,
Now
right.
we're just hold on there. So basically, as I've said many, many times before, I'm inheriting an empty box. It's 20 feet wide and 35 feet long. And there is nothing in it. Now,
I've been married before, Emma. It's okay. No, I'm just kidding.
it's going to take me a few weeks to kit it out. But kit it out I will. It's going to be quite small, but quite mighty. And my formula is going to be very, very simple. Everyone is quite welcome to bring their bikes to me. Doesn't matter whether you ride a Harley or a scooter or a Japanese bike or a vintage British bike. You can bring me all your bikes and I will repair them to the best of my ability. And I'll repair them fairly. Because the one thing I like to give, the one piece of advice I'd like to give to people who are contemplating being in the motorcycle industry is be honest. Now, back when I started in the 70s, it really was the Wild West. It really was. And there were all kinds of interesting characters who were doing all kinds of bad things to customers and other people in the industry. And thankfully, those kind of people have largely died off. Is everyone in the motorcycle industry completely honest? No, of course not. But that's largely true of any industry. But if you work fairly, don't sell yourself short, but you do a good job, you charge a fair price, and if you say you've done something, you bloody well better do it. And stand by your work if things don't go quite right. I think that's a really good formula. And that's what I'm going to apply to my shop. And I'm kind of simultaneously terrified and excited. I'll be okay when I'm in, but right now I feel I'm standing on a very, very high diving board and I'm kind of looking over. And I'll be okay when I jump.
Well, I think we are all excited for you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will Liza be offering credit at your shop for all of us too? Because I think that would be a great way to start the shop if we all got $7,000.
Yeah.
Credit.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll just see about
Yeah,
that.
that was a yes.
Emma coin.
So Emma, yeah, I'm looking forward to having tales from the shop.
Yes, and I mean, I'll be bringing tales from the shop, and I'm going to like what I said about owning a Trident, I'm going to try and approach it with some degree of sense of humor. I mean, I'm deadly serious when I work on bikes, but, I think as far as merchandise goes, I mean, we're going to have the Mototown t-shirts and the Mototown stickers, but I also like the idea of having a Mototown whoopee cushion as well.
So
What's
is that the
that?
name of your shop?
Oh yeah, my shop is called Mototown. Mototown.
I believe my friend Jessica and I might get to work on something in the next evening or two for you then.
Ooh.
Oh, cheers.
Ooh.
Oh,
Nice.
that'd be great. But yes, I mean, just any kind of really offbeat merch. And I think, if I do Mototown whoopee cushions at $5 a pop, I mean, you can't go wrong, really, can
Hey,
you?
if you make Mototown urethral sounds, I'm your first customer.
There you go.
They're perfect stocking stuffers.
They are.
Exactly
They're-
what sounding is.
Don't Google that. Do not Google that.
A perfect gift for one and all.
I have to say, though, I'm so happy of all the things I've learned from the Misfits.
Well, it's a gift that keeps on giving,
It
Liza.
is,
And I
it
mean,
is.
it's
Yeah.
I like to think that all of us, our lives have been enriched by one another.
Yes.
And
Especially when there's cupcakes.
and like all the best things, you can take each individual misfit, you can take Liza, you can take Jim, you can take Bagel, you can take Ricky, you can take all of the regular misfits. John's becoming a misfit now, but when you put us all together, we're more than the sum of our parts, like all the best things in life.
Like Voltron.
Yes.
Well, you guys, we're getting to the end, but before we go, I've got one more Evel Knievel poem entry to share.
Ooh.
And I wanted to give a big thanks to California Creations for giving us these stunt cycles to give away. If you don't want to write a poem, but you're interested in one, you can go to evilknieveltoys.com. It's that simple. This one is from our friend Katie in Australia. And she's titled it Evil Schmeevel.
I was waiting to see. Yeah, okay.
And she says, some say Evel Knievel was mad. Others say he was just a cad. He'd carry with him our hearts, his jumps propelled by farts. There's just no denying he's rad.
Nice.
Biblical.
He should have eaten more beans on that sky cycle. That's all I have to say. It could have used a little extra propulsion.
Right.
We could all use a little extra beans.
You guys, we're there to the end. Big shout out as usual to our Patreon subscribers. We had some new Ask Miss Emma questions coming in and some new Ask Miss Emma subscribers. Emma, are they keeping you busy over there?
Yeah, they are. And I mean, if you have sent an Ask Miss Emma question and I haven't responded, please be patient with me. This is a very busy time in my life. And I'm just very temporarily, I'm a little bit distracted with the shop. It's not always going to be that way. I promise I will get to your email. I read them all. But the last thing I'd ever want to do is just chicken scratch down a half-assed answer.
Mm-hmm.
I like to read the email, I like to understand it, and I like to give a concise and humorous answer. Because if people take the effort to write in, I want to give the effort to answer. But just bear in mind that takes a little time, and time ain't something I've got right now. But I'll do my best, be patient, and, feel free to jog and say, hey, where's my answer? And just jog me along, because I am quite distracted right now with other things, as you can imagine.
Bagel, you had something you wanted to add?
I just want to say yes. I will vouch for Miss Emma, and keep your shorts on, you wankers. She'll get to you.
Yeah, keep your bloody shorts on.
So rude. Well, and also, this is the time to thank all of our listeners. Thank you guys for sticking with us. We love it when people drop by, like the ones we had today, and they got the full Misfit experience. You know, we had Knock and Charlie and Micah there, and it's like just seeing everything going on, and then Emma just teaching people, and it was a great day, and I'm glad that some of our listeners were able to come join us. And also big thanks to everyone who's given us some new reviews on iTunes. Please keep them coming. It really helps us out. Yeah, I appreciate it a lot. But I think we're going to get out of here. I'm not giving you guys instructions. I'm going to let you guys figure out when you say your name. We're running loose and crazy here. You ready?
Whoa.
Thank you, everyone. I think it's time to get out of here. This is Liza.
Bagel.
Emma, darling.
Stubby John.
Oh, he's officially got a name now. It's official. And we are out of here.
Cool.
Stubby John. I'm like,
This is bullshit.
well, Rick, you're our only Rick. There are many Johns,
Alright.
and every time I was going, and joining us is John. I'm like, I need to give him a name. I need to
John
give him
never said it. No.
And we have a Stumpy, but we don't have a Stubby.
Those are
Yeah.
different. Yeah.
They're different. Very different.